Deep inside a shadow-filled dungeon, our new protagonist Ren Arasaka was quietly dismantling the corpse of a fallen beast. He was focused on extracting usable parts when the leader of their current party suddenly warned him that another monster had slipped past the front line and was rushing toward Ren's position. Ren hurriedly sealed away the harvested items using his hidden storage ability, then drew his sword, activating a body reinforcement technique that wrapped his limbs in controlled physical force. His gaze sharpened, tracking the lizard-type monster's approach. He avoided its first swipe with a smooth sidestep and immediately countered with a quick thrust into its flank. The creature staggered from the critical strike. Ren pulled his blade in a single practiced motion, tearing through scaled flesh and spilling its insides outward, finishing the enemy in a clean execution. Although hired as nothing more than a temporary carrier, Ren showed a refined level of battle experience, especially in this part of the dungeon, where large numbers of monsters frequently appeared without warning. The truth was, the group had only brought him as a substitute porter to fill a vacancy. But despite this job title, Ren had skills in almost everything. The party captain had already asked him earlier to help with retrieving valuable materials after combat was over. Ren sheathed his sword and returned to his porter role, remembering the basics about dungeon structure. These underground spaces materialized from dense magical concentration, spawning monsters periodically. His primary duty was to recover useful resources from defeated enemies. One of the younger members seemed fascinated, muttering that Ren acted more like a B-rank adventurer than some random porter. The captain immediately explained that Ren was far more valuable than he looked. Not only was he strong enough to defend himself, but he also carried equipment, ingredients, and heavy supplies, without slowing the group down. That made traveling through a monster-dense dungeon considerably more efficient. In truth, a porter was just someone who managed baggage. And Ren liked to think his own combat abilities were merely average, yet he rarely needed to actually fight because his party members were powerful enough to take on most creatures alone. Still, the newbie couldn't help asking, "Doesn't he just pick up loot all day?" Ren casually admitted that was mostly true, which immediately gave the impression he was freeloading. However, the captain defended him without hesitation. Ren's real strength was his ability to collect materials with almost zero waste, even while moving during frantic battles. Even against a salamander, Ren could calmly take it down alone if needed, drink a potion, and keep working like nothing happened. In dangerous high-rank areas, no one ever had to worry about the porter falling behind or slowing the expedition. That alone made hiring him both profitable and extremely convenient. There was something else the others gradually discovered about him over time. During their scheduled break, one of the girls asked whether dinner was almost ready. Ren nodded and explained it would be finished soon, but she specifically wanted the salamander meat they harvested earlier. Ren politely refused because it hadn't been bled properly yet, so he prepared another dish altogether. Another woman chimed in, asking for that meat as well, and maybe something sweet afterward if possible. Ren opened his magic pouch and set up a folding table directly inside the dungeon, which excited everyone immediately. They were convinced he possessed some extremely rare magic bag. The truth, Ren didn't have one at all. That was his storage skill, disguised as item bag magic. He'd once been warned by someone important to keep his skills hidden or risk getting involved with dangerous people. So he always pretended it was just a normal magic item. Ren finished cooking, mixing minced meat and sautéed onions in just the right balance, stirring milk and egg into side dishes, and everyone helped place plates on the improvised table. He knew exactly what exhausted adventurers craved: heavy flavor, real texture, anything better than dried expedition rations. The young member stared in disbelief, realizing Ren even carried tables and tableware with him. Fancy meals in a dungeon? He assumed elite parties always had such luxuries, but the captain corrected him. Only because Ren was here. He was a dedicated cook, stocking ingredients and equipment through his storage technique. Ren simply disliked eating anything mediocre, so he always prepared the best food for himself and others. When dinner finished, he offered everyone seconds, and the aroma of grilled meat was enough to make them dig in immediately. Everyone loved it, especially the newbie, who admitted this tasted better than his favorite restaurant. The captain told him this was normal whenever Ren joined them. The newbie pretended he didn't get influenced by things like food, although he couldn't hide his gratitude. Right then, Ren brought out dessert. The moment the newbie tried it, his attitude completely changed, eating rapidly like he hadn't tasted sweets in months. Ren considered being a B-rank adventurer quite convenient. He could basically handle everything. Later at the guild, the newbie apologized for being rude earlier, thanking Ren for the delicious meals. He declared he'd become a B-rank adventurer like him someday. Ren told him not to overdo things and to take it slowly. Afterward, the newbie left, clearly attached to Ren already just because of his cooking. The captain then invited Ren to officially join their party, promising high rewards, support, and achievements. Ren politely refused. The captain had expected this answer. He wished they could occasionally spend several months exploring deeper dungeons together someday. Ren disliked the idea, though he wouldn't mind a proper bed or a real bath during long explorations. Well then, the captain said, join us again for a short adventure next time. Ren agreed and parted ways. He didn't dislike teamwork, in fact. Having reliable income and comfort was appealing. But deep inside, something felt empty, especially knowing he couldn't improve his skill growth beyond B rank. Something about settling into an easy life made him feel unfulfilled. Maybe it was time to quit the constant adventurer cycle. As he walked through the royal capital, he noticed a public notice advertising cheap housing for new village residents. Just like that, Ren made up his mind. On impulse, he left the capital to move into a remote countryside village, seeking a slower lifestyle. A major reason. In the capital, he was known as a jack of all trades, but personally he felt he wasn't exceptional at anything. He eventually purchased a small home inside a forest near a village, planning to follow his hobbies and actually use his abilities freely without anyone watching. Opening his status window, he reviewed his entire skill list, thinking about how he'd live from now on. In his previous world, Ren recalled living an ordinary routine as a company employee. His days were predictable work. Go home, play games, read novels, and repeat. Peaceful, but honestly plain. One particular game captured his interest. It allowed players to farm, craft, and slowly raise their characters while enjoying a relaxed progression system. Ren took his time with it and eventually maxed out nearly everything, reaching the top just by enjoying the journey. He didn't remember how he died, only fragments remained, but when he turned 5 in this world, a flood of memories returned, connecting his current body with his former life. His status screen displayed unusually high stats, various talents, and something that shocked him most, a hero title. That alone made him suspect he was destined to defeat some demon lord and eventually be summoned to a royal castle like some chosen protagonist. The idea excited him. From childhood, he'd always been praised for learning quickly, both in his present and past life, so believing he was the main character felt almost natural. But what he didn't yet understand was what his mysterious jack-of-all-trades ability truly implied. Time passed. Ren joined villagers in routine monster hunts, something completely foreign in his past world. Like other kids, he discovered that whenever he picked up a new weapon, a matching combat skill would automatically activate even if no such skill existed in his menu beforehand. That odd mechanic allowed him to hunt far more efficiently than other children. But after every skill reached a certain threshold, advancement suddenly became painfully slow. Worse, even though he had plenty of mana, Ren couldn't cast magic at all. He watched other children learn spells, grow stronger, and unlock magical potential while he stayed stuck. Checking his stats showed he did have mana above average even, but he simply couldn't cast anything. That left him quietly envious. By age 10, his abilities were only a little above ordinary. He realized that kids who specialized in something eventually surpassed him. A subtle but heavy disappointment settled in his chest, gradually erasing the hero-like fantasy he once had. Moreover, this world didn't seem to need heroes. The world was rather peaceful. Sure, monsters existed, but no ongoing wars, no looming demon lords. There was talk about a distant demi-human kingdom, whose ruler was sometimes called the Demon King, but they actively promoted peaceful trade and diplomacy. There were no invasions, no threats, nothing pushing Ren toward a heroic destiny. Slowly, all those dramatic expectations faded, and by the time he turned 12, he no longer cared about being a hero at all. Upon becoming an adult, Ren left his birthplace and registered as an adventurer, not because he dreamed of saving the world, but simply because he wanted some kind of purpose. Thanks to exploration and appraisal techniques, he became skilled at scouting and identifying magical or geographical features. His most valuable ability, however, was clearly storage magic. At first he could barely store much, but as the skill leveled up, capacity increased dramatically, allowing him to pack absurd amounts of supplies. Learning to use it properly changed everything. Ren spent years hunting monsters, traveling, training, and collecting every useful material he found. Somehow, instead of embarking on a hero's quest, he discovered a strangely comforting rhythm wandering into new lands, harvesting ingredients, cooking for himself, crafting tools, and expanding his collection of rare materials. The thrill of gathering things, exploring, and stockpiling made him feel fulfilled in a way he never expected. Ren eventually built his dream cabin in the forest, using resources he gathered across his travels. He purchased the surrounding land by selling excess materials, and now, with a safe and quiet base, he could finally shape a calming lifestyle. He could hunt, cook, make medicines, craft gear all easily thanks to Jack of all trades. At one point, while shopping in a nearby town, he met a helpful girl named Mina, who guided him through the marketplace. She introduced him to local merchants, explained where he could buy ingredients, and showed him which stalls carried rarer products. Ren appreciated having someone that kind. Mina casually asked whether it was all right for her to leave her shop unattended, and Ren worried he was keeping her away, but she assured him that her older sister was covering the store. Besides, as a merchant, scouting around for supplies was part of her job anyway. While browsing, Ren noticed something in a stall, an item carved from wood. The shopkeeper asked if he was looking for merchandise from far eastern lands. Ren asked about the wooden tool, and the merchant said a foreign trader claimed it came from a distant eastern country, but he wasn't sure. Ren recognized it as an abacus. When asked if he actually knew what it was, Ren casually replied he read about it in a book. The merchant admitted he originally mistook it for a strange musical instrument. Ren bought it immediately. Then he noticed a bottle filled with dark liquid. The merchant claimed it too came from the east, most people disliked the smell, and it sold poorly. Ren asked if he could smell it first. The moment he inhaled the aroma, he immediately purchased it and asked whether more was available. Unfortunately, that was all the merchant had. Ren asked if it was possible to acquire more in the future. The merchant told him he could try visiting the eastern port town of Oboro, where the trader supposedly came from. Ren then asked about grain from the east. Something like wheat but not wheat. The merchant didn't have any. However, he did receive liquor from the same source. Ren checked the bottle and instantly suspected it was a clear, strong liquor, likely Japanese sake. He bought that too, and the merchant tossed in some leftover seeds as a bonus. Ren quietly appraised everything and confirmed that the black liquid was soy sauce and the liquor was indeed sake. Although he couldn't find rice here, he was convinced it must exist somewhere. This moment gave him a warm, nostalgic feeling, occasionally finding items that reminded him of Japan. If such things existed, there might be others reincarnated like him. For now, just knowing Eastern goods resembled things from his previous world was enough. And deep down, he felt a sudden curiosity to visit the East someday. Mina interrupted his thinking and asked if he could tell her about the things he'd just bought. She'd never seen any of them before. Ren explained that the abacus was used for fast calculation. Mina found it hard to believe someone could calculate using beads. But Ren said he might teach her eventually. He even thought about showing it to a craftsman to have it replicated. Or, maybe he could try making one himself. Mina became convinced that Ren could do anything. Next, he explained soy sauce, made from beans, and the clear liquor, made from rice. Mina found him incredibly knowledgeable, perhaps because he traveled so much. She even felt a little jealous that he could visit so many places while she was stuck in the same region to restock the shop. She hoped she would someday visit distant countries as well. Ren promised that whenever she wanted to travel, he'd escort her and keep her safe. Mina blushed, imagining him like a prince escorting her through foreign lands. Ren reassured her confidently, saying he'd protect her as long as she needed. She nervously changed the subject, pointing him toward another interesting stall. Together, they continued exploring the town. Eventually, Ren and Mina tried freshly grilled skewers from a street vendor together, enjoying the easy atmosphere of the bazaar. After finishing the meal, the vendor handed each of them a lottery ticket, something given randomly to customers. Mina seemed eager to try her luck later and noticed Ren ate quite a lot. He claimed it was normal, he was an adventurer, after all. She envied how much good food he must have tasted during his travels. Ren offered to let her try more dishes next time, and Mina seemed thrilled, though she held herself back since she was already full. For now, they returned to Mina's home. Ren had something large stored with him, and when Mina told him to set it down in the backyard, her older sister Yuna came out to greet them only to freeze at the sight of an enormous black buffalo suddenly appearing behind Ren. Mina explained she actually won the buffalo from the lottery ticket. Yuna struggled to process what she was seeing. Mina praised Ren for effortlessly carrying such a heavy animal. Ren brushed it off, saying he just used his body reinforcement technique. Mina pointed out that in a rural place like this, hardly anyone could lift a black buffalo by themselves. Yuna confirmed that was definitely true. Ren carried the animal to the backyard and immediately began dismantling it. Mina watched his careful, almost graceful technique. He separated the tongue, bones, and tail, surprising Mina, who asked if those parts could be used too. Ren explained that the tongue had a unique chewiness, tails could make rich soup, and bones formed excellent broth bases. Mina was amazed Ren knew so much about cooking. Ren simply replied that adventurers had to learn to cook whatever they could hunt. Once everything was dismantled, Mina wondered how they would store such a huge amount of meat. They would need to eat or sell it quickly to keep it from spoiling. Ren suggested smoking the meat or turning it into jerky. Mina then asked Ren to stay for dinner and even stay overnight, since there was more than enough meat. Ren gladly accepted. She asked him to cut the best sections of meat for steaks, but Ren suddenly got an idea to use the Eastern ingredients he bought earlier. Mina allowed him full access to the kitchen. Inside, Ren carefully prepared the black buffalo meat, seasoning it with the soy sauce and additional spices he carried. Mina could hardly wait, the aroma alone was irresistible. Ren also started preparing another dish using more of the meat. By the time Yuna noticed the wonderful smell spreading through the house, both sisters couldn't hide their excitement. Once the steak was finished, Ren served them first. The dish was unbelievably tender. Mina felt like it melted in her mouth. Yuna had never imagined buffalo could taste like this. Ren explained that soy sauce transformed flavor dramatically when heated, especially combined with garlic. Mina was stunned something so unfamiliar could be this delicious. She asked if Ren could make soy sauce himself if he knew the ingredients. But Ren admitted the most vital element, soybeans, were missing. Mina remarked that if soy sauce spread around this region, it could revolutionize cooking and commerce. She suggested contacting traders and the Commerce Guild to search for more. Ren replied that even in the royal capital he couldn't find any, and meeting that Eastern merchant today was probably pure luck. The town of Oboro might be the only reliable source. But Oboro was far from here, on the eastern edge of the kingdom of Shinrindo, which would take at least a month of travel. Ren sighed. The journey sounded exhausting. He considered asking a certain person with teleportation magic for help, but there were complicated reasons he couldn't invite that guy casually. Ren preferred to take it slow for now. He wanted to enjoy his peaceful new life first. They finished dinner happily. Later, Ren taught Mina a little about using the abacus, although both sisters struggled to understand everything immediately. Afterward, Ren enjoyed a bath and went to sleep. The next morning, after breakfast, Ren decided it was time to head back home. Mina and Yuna both hoped to see him again soon, especially when he delivered potions. Ren felt grateful he'd met Mina. On the road home, he reflected on how they first met. Back then, Ren had arrived in the rural town of Kiyomori, after a long journey from the capital. This was a lively town, partly because adventurers often passed through due to nearby monster-filled forests. The town had an adventurer guild, merchant guild, inns, and various shops. Upon arriving, Ren first visited several restaurants, surprised at the variety of cuisines. Then he went to the Kiyomori Adventurer Guild branch, where the receptionist noticed he looked like a newcomer. But when he showed his adventurer card and requested to transfer his base of operations to this branch, she was stunned. His card indicated B rank. Many nearby adventurers glanced over in surprise. He politely explained that he was planning to live here for a while and wouldn't be taking jobs anytime soon. The receptionist looked disappointed but asked him to consider accepting C to B rank quests eventually, since the town really lacked powerful adventurers. Ren promised he would once his personal life settled. Next, he stopped by the Commerce Guild to register himself for trading, buying, and selling goods in town. Merchant ranking was determined by yearly guild fees, and Ren only registered at the lowest level E, since he just needed the minimum authority. He noticed a notice board announcing stalls for an upcoming festival and immediately applied for a booth. After finishing paperwork and buying vegetable seeds, he was finally ready to return home. But then a loud noise echoed from the nearby woods. Ren turned around and sensed monsters fighting nearby. Concerned that someone might be involved, he headed toward the noise and discovered a rock python and a great boar locked in a wild clash. Ren instantly recognized their value and decided to hunt both. Activating physical enhancement, he leapt high and decapitated the rock python with a precise single slash. The great boar charged him, but Ren swiftly finished it as well, storing both monsters' bodies afterward. Near the road, Ren spotted a carriage overturned in the grass. It seemed someone had been caught by surprise. There was no one inside, so Ren searched around and eventually found a young person unconscious. He quickly healed their worst injury and placed them inside the carriage. He also used a potion on the injured horse and asked it to pull. On the way back toward town, the injured youth suddenly woke, panicking about merchandise. Ren told them everything was safe and casually explained that monsters were already taken care of. The youth suspected Ren wasn't a normal passerby since fighting monsters was no easy matter. Ren insisted those monsters weren't very strong. When the youth finally calmed down, they introduced themselves as Mina, explaining that she worked at her family shop in Kiyomori. This was how they met the very first time. Ren insisted Mina didn't owe him anything, but she insisted on repaying him somehow. She was shocked when Ren mentioned he made the potion used to heal her. Making potions from herbs near his home seemed impossible to her. Ren nodded and agreed casually. Mina begged him to visit her store to discuss business opportunities. Ren, curious, decided to follow her. On the way, they exchanged simple introductions, Ren being an adventurer, Mina a merchant. Mina was shocked he bought a house in the dangerous forest. Ren reassured her he'd built a monster-repelling fence. When they arrived, Mina introduced her older sister Yuna, who panicked hearing that monsters attacked Mina earlier. Mina explained how Ren saved her, and Yuna gratefully thanked him. At this point Ren suddenly realized Mina was actually a girl. Her clothing had made her look like a boy earlier. She laughed awkwardly, saying she dressed that way to avoid attention when traveling alone. Ren completely understood. After unloading cargo together, the three sat down, and Yuna offered Ren a reward for saving Mina money or goods. Ren said he recently moved here and planned to start small business, so he wished to borrow a corner of their shop to sell whatever he made. He'd pay rent and even provide affordable potions. Mina felt excited they'd benefit greatly from this deal. She asked if he could supply large amounts if needed. Ren agreed, depending on ingredients. Yuna added that potion supplies in the area were low since the elderly apothecary retired recently, forcing them to buy expensive stock from other towns, raising costs. Ren said he could supply potions, depending on the situation. Mina and Yuna happily agreed and wanted to finalize a contract. Ren mentioned he could produce high-grade potions as well. Yuna was surprised she assumed he was only an adventurer. Ren presented a potion and let Yuna appraise it. She confirmed its high quality, better than the ones in other towns. Mina and Yuna decided immediately they wanted regular business with Ren. Mina then mentioned that since the forest around Kiyomori lacked strong monsters, Ren didn't actually need to make high-grade potions most of the time. Ordinary potions would be enough and cheaper to produce in bulk. She explained that antidotes would also sell extremely well, especially because of snake and insect venoms in the area. Yuna told Mina to prepare a written contract, and while she stepped away, Yuna wanted to discuss pricing and numbers privately with Ren. Ren honestly hadn't expected things to become so busy so quickly, but he carefully worked out the business details with her. After everything was settled, Ren returned home. Back home, Ren reflected that potion demand was surprisingly high here. But because most injuries weren't critical, he should use moderate ingredients to keep prices affordable and supply stable. He went through ingredients he collected, choosing cost-effective plants that still had good healing potential. Thanks to appraisal, he could immediately judge herb quality and determine correct ratios, and with his decomposition technique, he could artificially age or refine ingredients faster. Placing herbs into a mortar, Ren crushed them while slowly channeling magic into the mixture. His magical ability was strange. He couldn't cast spells normally, but he could pour mana into objects he physically held. After forming a paste, he simmered it for about an hour, letting it cool before dividing into small glass vials. Appraisal confirmed perfect quality for ordinary potions. He continued making more normal potions, stronger ones, antidotes while he was in the rhythm. When potion making was done, he cooked lunch from the monster meat he acquired earlier. He chopped meat into small pieces with salt, pepper, and thyme. On the side he mixed eggs, flour, and a pinch of salt into batter. For a special touch, he poured a bit of the Eastern sake into it to create a crispy texture. Next, he sliced potatoes evenly and soaked them in water before preparing oil. After draining the potatoes and coating the meat with flour then batter, he fried everything to golden perfection. The aroma made even him hungry. Once the snacks finished, he tasted a piece pleasantly salty and crispy. The potato dipped in vinegar had a refreshingly different taste as well. Feeling proud, he took a portion of the snacks over to Mina's house. When Mina opened the door, Ren said he came to deliver the first batch of potions. She was astonished they were finished already, even though she only asked yesterday. Ren asked her to check them directly, and inside he found Yuna organizing store inventory. Yuna greeted him, and when she examined a large potion delivery, she was stunned. For a first order, the quantity was enormous. She wondered if Ren already had them ready beforehand. But Ren explained all the herbs grew near his home, so he produced them yesterday. Yuna confirmed their quality with appraisal. Pleased that this amount would last the shop about a week, she went to prepare payment while asking Mina to watch the storefront. Ren then brought out the freshly made snacks for Mina to try while still warm. She was surprised Ren made those as well. He encouraged her to taste them. Mina took a bite of a potato piece and nearly sparkled. I didn't know potatoes could taste this good. Soon Yuna returned, and Ren offered some to her as well. She liked them instantly. Ren casually mentioned he made these using rock python meat, which shocked them both. They'd never eaten snake before. But Ren explained he just tried it experimentally, and it turned out more delicious than expected, so he shared it. Ren also asked if they had a larger pot so he wouldn't have to repeat brewing in small batches. Mina went to fetch one, and that was how Ren's relaxed life began, with new friends and new routines in this unfamiliar town. The next morning, Ren ventured into deeper parts of the forest. Even locals lacked information about these depths. He knew monsters around here weren't that strong, mostly plant variants further inside. Ren gathered useful items along the way, storing them instantly. After wandering a while, he discovered a lake hidden in the forest. There he spotted a beautiful creature that resembled a white horse with a single horn, a unicorn. Despite its graceful appearance, unicorns were aggressive and attacked anyone they saw. Ren drew his sword calmly, watching its horn lower toward him. Right as it charged, Ren slid sideways and chopped the horn cleanly off. Without its horn, a unicorn was basically just a horse until the horn regrew. Ren assumed no strong monsters lived around here, but discovering a unicorn proved otherwise. It was stronger than rock python or great boar. He stored the horn, planning to use it for crafting high-grade recovery potions or elixirs, maybe even magical accessories. The lakeside view was peaceful, so Ren decided to rest a bit and enjoy lunch. He took out ale and a hamburger, but before he could bite, a deer-like monster approached from behind. Ren was startled and embarrassed he failed to detect it, yet the creature didn't seem hostile, but it stared directly at his food, making eating awkward. Ren sighed and offered his hamburger to it. The white creature ate it instantly. He pulled out another burger for himself, but the creature clearly wanted more. Ren said there wasn't any left. Suddenly the creature slammed its horn into the ground so violently the horn broke off completely. Ren nearly jumped. He wondered if the monster would be fine without its horn, and offered a potion. The creature refused, and within seconds a new horn smoothly grew back, shinier than the previous one. Ren stared wide-eyed, amazed by this mysterious white monster. After the animal walked away, Ren used appraisal to identify the horn it belonged to. A powerful creature called Shirogami, possessing extreme resistances and purifying properties. Ren had only planned for a short excursion, yet was already gathering premium materials one after another. Later, Ren returned home and started plowing his field, preparing farmland between potion deliveries to Mina. He planted seeds he recently bought, then continued working, remodeling his storage shed, chopping wood, and planning modifications to his kitchen. This peaceful lifestyle felt strangely fulfilling. Ren also made a smoke kiln, planning to make prosciutto using great boar meat. He salted and peppered cuts of meat, letting them rest inside storage to age for 10 days. Meanwhile, he prepared wood for smoking, using his decomposition skill. Once enough time passed, he washed the salt away, dried the meat instantly through storage, and placed it in the smoker for several hours. While the meat smoked, Ren cooked dinner using black buffalo tongue. After boiling the meat with onions and later combining it with vegetables and ale, the aroma filled the house. The flavor that spread through the broth felt deeply nostalgic, almost comforting. After simmering another dish with mushrooms and meat, it was time to retrieve the smoked cuts. But prosciutto would taste better after aging longer, so Ren stored it to mature. Around that moment, the same white monster from earlier, the Shirogami, approached silently from behind Ren, startling him. Somehow, it slipped past his monster-repelling barrier and his detection skills without triggering anything. That confirmed Ren's suspicion. Shirogami must be a high-ranked monster. This time, Shirogami carried a pile of herbs and rare plants within what looked like its own storage ability. Ren examined them briefly. They were extraordinary, incredibly rare medicines and magical herbs, collected from deep within the forest. Shirogami calmly placed them at Ren's feet. Ren realized the creature was offering a trade. It brought these precious herbs, and in return, wanted to be fed again. Understanding this intention, Ren prepared a second outdoor meal. He set up a table in the garden and brought out freshly made dishes, asking Shirogami to wait patiently. Shirogami politely sat while Ren performed a brief meal prayer. Then, the monster eagerly dug into the food as soon as Ren finished. Its appetite was overwhelming. It devoured its first serving within moments. Ren offered seconds and ate his own dinner, smiling quietly to himself. Despite sharing a table with a monster, Ren found comfort in the company. Having anyone around softened the loneliness he usually ignored. After the meal, Ren even offered wine and prepared snacks specifically salted and half-raw to maximize flavor for meat-loving creatures. Shirogami savored the dish and lightly stomped one of its hooves as if expressing delight. They chatted and drank together beneath the stars, enjoying peaceful silence until it was time to rest. The following morning, Ren was finishing breakfast tea when a loud knock echoed at the door. He wondered who might visit so early, and to his dismay, it turned out to be the one person he didn't want showing up. Standing there was Akito, a man he absolutely recognized, an adventurer with spatial teleportation abilities, and someone Ren had intentionally avoided contacting. Akito casually greeted him like an old friend, cheerfully complaining, "You disappeared from the royal capital without even saying goodbye. Aren't you going to invite your dear friend Akito inside?" Ren coldly asked why he was here. Akito replied plainly he came to eat. Ren closed his eyes in irritation. "This isn't a restaurant." Akito ignored the complaint and opened a bag, saying something Ren desperately wanted was inside. Ren expected something random, but when he peeked, he froze completely. Inside the bag was rice. Ren's hands literally trembled. He demanded to know where Akito got it, but Akito insisted they eat breakfast first before he answered. Ren was too happy to argue. He immediately invited him in and served food enthusiastically. Once they sat at the dining table, Ren asked again where Akito obtained the rice. Akito casually said he found it inside a dungeon apparently. There was a dungeon that contained exotic ingredients inside treasure chests. Akito didn't know what the white grains were, so he used appraisal, confirmed they were edible, and immediately brought them to Ren. He explained that the dungeon floor contained numerous culinary items and even a massive ocean layer producing salt. However, the lower areas required boats, and bringing a normal boat into a dungeon was extremely dangerous due to sea monsters. Ren suggested using teleportation magic to bring a ship in, but Akito said a normal vessel wouldn't survive, and even a reinforced one would be risky. He said he proposed building a port inside the dungeon to the guild, but they dismissed the idea since they didn't see profit in a food dungeon. Ren was outraged. Food ingredients were important. People should always pursue better flavors, not ignore them. Akito laughed, saying it was rare to meet someone so obsessed with cooking. When Ren asked where the dungeon was located, Akito answered it was in the east, near the town of Ubayashi, not very far. Akito offered to teleport them there immediately if Ren wanted. But Ren refused. He still needed time to settle into his new lifestyle here. He did admit, though, that he was extremely interested in that dungeon. Ren then asked how much Akito wanted for the rice. Akito dramatically began complaining how Ren left without telling him, how he worried, how he never even asked Ren where he was going. Ren interrupted to demand how Akito even found him. Akito admitted something horrifying. He secretly modified the spatial magic bag he made for Ren, adding a hidden function that would automatically return the bag to Ren if lost. Through that, Akito tracked him here. Ren almost shouted, "Why did he add stalker functions into a magic item?" Akito shamelessly insisted he just didn't want to miss Ren's cooking. However, he also pointed out that because of that feature, he could bring Ren things like rice, so wasn't it a good thing? Ren reluctantly admitted Akito had a point and repeated his question about price. Akito puffed his chest proudly. He wasn't planning to charge anything. He said Ren could have the rice for free as long as Akito could come here to eat whenever he wanted. He also promised to bring rare ingredients sometimes. Ren agreed immediately. Akito added, he would also bring fish in the future since mountains made seafood hard to access. Ren happily accepted, and Akito casually asked to stay over since he could teleport whenever needed. He even offered to pay rent. So Akito simply started living with Ren. The next day, Ren returned from exploring only to find his house completely rearranged. Akito had redecorated everything while Ren was gone. He claimed the furniture came from a bandit hideout he wiped out earlier. He even cast purification magic to keep the house permanently clean. Ren grumbled, but still thanked him with a meal. To celebrate, Ren decided to finally cook rice. He simmered it carefully, while Akito watched his every movement curiously. Akito asked where Ren learned such techniques, but Ren used an excuse claiming he learned from a traveling merchant. Ren absolutely couldn't reveal the truth about his past life knowledge. After the rice finished steaming, Ren planned to cook katsudon. He sliced onions, simmered meat, heated oil, and used dried seaweed instead of kelp. After breading and frying pork cutlets, he simmered them with soy sauce and onions, adding beaten egg on top. When dinner was finally ready, Akito returned from a walk and was instantly drawn by the smell. Ren served katsudon with steaming rice, and Akito devoured it immediately, practically speechless at how good it was. Ren explained he used soy sauce he miraculously found in town, and there might be more in eastern countries. Akito asked where exactly. Ren casually said eastern Shinrindo, around the port town of Oboro, where you might even find rice. Akito listened carefully. Ren then deliberately complained that once his soy sauce ran out, he wouldn't be able to make katsudon anymore. Akito nearly panicked and asked exactly where they could get more. Ren gently described the location east of Shinrindo, possibly reachable if someone had teleportation magic and plenty of time. He also mentioned miso and sake, as if casually suggesting endless delicious possibilities. That was all Akito needed. He promised to go to Oboro himself. Ren had successfully manipulated him. The following day, while Ren was dismantling monster corpses, he noticed Akito had hunted several large beasts earlier, apparently to pay his rent through meat and ingredients. The carcasses included a rock bird, a black buffalo, and even a green drake. Ren asked how far Akito had gone into the forest. Akito casually replied it was a little deep toward the eastern mountain slope. He originally intended to hunt only the black buffalo, but the green drake suddenly appeared and attacked him, so he eliminated it as well. Ren sighed. Akito always took things too far. Still, Ren appreciated the extra materials. Even though dismantling took time, Ren's skills ensured none of the valuable body parts went to waste. Muscle, organs, blood, claws, everything could be used to craft high-grade items or medicine. By the time Ren finished dismantling everything, evening had arrived. Even though it was exhausting, the massive supply of ingredients was definitely beneficial. The next morning, Ren ventured again to explore deeper portions of the forest. Using his exploration ability, Ren created highly accurate maps just by walking, marking terrain, rivers, and landmarks. Mapping was incredibly useful by knowing paths and avoiding danger zones. Ren could travel faster and safer in the future, and he could even sell the completed map to the Adventurer Guild. Eventually, the map led him back to the lakeside where he met the unicorn earlier. It took longer this time because he was drawing the route carefully. Ren thought the lake would make an ideal base, spot a safe rendezvous point for lost travelers, so he marked it on his map. After charting familiar paths, Ren grew curious about unexplored deeper zones. Perhaps stronger monsters lived there, or valuable medicinal herbs. Unfortunately, that curiosity proved reckless. Once Ren passed into unfamiliar woods, a vine suddenly lashed toward him. He instinctively dodged and sliced it cleanly, realizing he had been ambushed. The attacker was a treant, a plant monster with excellent camouflage, making them nearly invisible among trees. Worse, Ren discovered he was surrounded multiple treants, blended with large trees, mixed with smaller plant monsters. Fighting all of them alone would be dangerous. Ren immediately decided to escape while he still could. He sprinted through the trees until he reached unfamiliar terrain and lost his bearings. He needed elevation. Ren climbed the nearest tall tree to spot a river in the distance and also glimpsed the town beyond. If he simply followed the river downstream, he could return home. However, before heading back, Ren noticed something unnatural deeper within the thick forest. A huge mass of trees wrapped in heavy mist, almost like a hidden mountain. No one from town seemed to know anything about that region. The mystery was too tempting. That's when he heard faint movement behind him. He drew his sword, but the intruder was none other than Shirogami. Ren had no idea the creature lived so deep inside the forest. Shirogami signaled for Ren to follow and guided him through the wild terrain until he returned safely near home. Ren thanked Shirogami and promised dinner later. Back at the house, Ren found Akito already waiting. Akito said he upgraded the monster-repelling fence, strengthening it so even high-level monsters shouldn't enter. He also added an intruder ward. Only Ren or Akito could enter unless the gate was open. Yet somehow, Shirogami had already come and gone. Akito was shocked the barrier was supposed to block everything strong. Ren explained and mentioned Shirogami had even shared meals with him. Akito couldn't believe it. Ren was literally eating dinner with a high-rank monster. Ren just shrugged and said it helped with loneliness sometimes. Akito teased him for sounding lonely. Ren told him to shut up and returned inside to cook. Both Akito and Shirogami patiently waited, though neither seemed happy about the other being present. Ren prepared tonight's meal using green drake meat, first boiling cabbage, peeling leaves, and draining them. Then he chilled onions before sautéing them with butter. Meanwhile, He ground the drake meat with traces of boar meat to balance its heavy flavor. After mixing onions and seasonings, he rolled the meat filling into proper sizes, planning to experiment later with making burgers out of drake patties. But tonight, he stuffed the meat inside cabbage leaves for a simmered dish. After cooking the vegetables and meat together, Ren called Akito and Shirogami to set the outdoor table. Akito asked why they always had to eat outside. Ren reminded him Shirogami was too large for the house. Ren served the stuffed cabbage dish, and everyone dug in. Ren was stunned. The drake meat wasn't just good. It was incredibly rich, possibly the best he'd ever tasted. Mixing boar meat helped soften the overwhelming heaviness of drake flesh, making the result surprisingly balanced. The broth created by simmering vegetables with drake juices overflowed with deep flavor, gentle sweetness, mixed with dense, meaty aroma. Shirogami asked for seconds almost instantly, and Akito followed. Ren prepared plenty more, so they continued eating happily. As they ate, Akito announced something important once he finished his current responsibilities. He was planning to head toward eastern Shinrindo, specifically the town of Oboro. That was exactly what Ren had hoped. Akito explained that after he reached Oboro once, he could teleport back and forth easily. Ren offered a fair price for the long trip. But Akito didn't care about money. He only wanted guaranteed meals and a place to stay. If he found good materials in the east, he might ask Ren to craft gear as well. Ren agreed but warned he only crafted as a hobby, not guaranteed masterpieces. Akito didn't believe him, he insisted. Ren's crafts were always amazing. Now both of them were excited. Ren felt closer than ever to obtaining consistent rice and soy sauce, though he would ironically depend on Akito for that. A few days later, Ren continued mapping new pathways, marking landmarks, monster habitats, and herb-rich patches. Exploration had become part of his everyday routine. He planned to eventually sell a full map to the guild. A map like this could drastically reduce risk for other adventurers. While walking near the lake, Ren confirmed the place would make a reliable meeting spot for anyone lost in the woods. He updated his drawn map, labeling the location clearly. Afterwards, he decided to push a little beyond the areas he previously charted. He knew it was dangerous, but curiosity pushed him forward. Perhaps more magical herbs, or even legendary ingredients, waited deeper inside. However, neither Ren nor the original day's plan expected that the forest would suddenly shift into thicker mist. He kept moving carefully, but as he stepped forward, he sensed something unusual. An area covered in dense fog, almost like a sealed region untouched by villagers or adventurers. The deeper he went, the stranger the feeling grew. But before he could proceed further, lingering tension from the treant encounter made him reconsider going too far alone. He made a mental plan to return someday with better preparation. After returning to his cabin, Ren noticed Akito sitting casually by the gate. Akito had just returned from the royal capital but mentioned nothing important. He simply said he reinforced the monster barrier again, this time preventing even high-ranked enemies from breaking through. He also placed a powerful intrusion spell that recognized only Ren and Akito. Unless the front gate was open, no one, and no monster should be able to enter. Ren was about to compliment him when Akito suddenly pointed behind Ren in shock. Shirogami was calmly waiting near the doorway. Ren rolled his eyes. That one is special. Akito was speechless. He couldn't comprehend how such a powerful creature bypassed so many layers of protective magic and formations. Ren explained. Shirogami sometimes visited simply because it enjoyed sharing meals. Akito exhaled exaggeratedly. You really are lonely. Ren grumbled and walked inside, preparing ingredients for dinner. During this time, Akito and Shirogami stared coldly at each other. Neither seemed willing to accept the other's presence, yet both clearly planned to stay. Ren placed ingredients on the table. Green drake meat again, combined with vegetables. He began boiling cabbage, letting steam soften the leaves. He chilled the onions, sautéed them in butter, ground the meat mixture carefully, kneaded everything thoroughly, rolled it into compact stuffed balls, wrapped each one with cabbage, and simmered the dish slowly. Outside, they shared the finished cooking. Ren, Akito, and Shirogami each enjoyed another delicious meal. As always, Shirogami swallowed his meal within seconds, asking for thirds with a tap of its hoof. Meanwhile, Akito mentioned he'd made up his mind and would soon travel east to Oboro. Ren was overjoyed finally. Rice and soy sauce could become regular supplies. Akito reminded him he wasn't doing this for free. He expected Ren's cooking, lodging, and maybe a crafted weapon or two. Ren agreed easily. Akito laughed. Mentioning Ren's work was never just a hobby. no matter how often Ren insisted otherwise. With that promise, Ren felt confident that new ingredients and possibly entire cooking revolutions were waiting in the East.